Should Western countries be engaging or disengaging from China? It's an interesting question to ponder, but in my mind, it's a very simple one to answer. Moving forward, China inevitably will become a world leader in a variety of industries. In addition, China will always play a major role in our global economy. In a few months, China will be hosting the world's most important sporting event, the Olympics. And in today's episode, I'm bringing a familiar guest back to the show, Chris Pereira, and the two of us sit down and discuss why engagement with China is crucial to our planet's future success. Everybody, we're back here in the studio with Chris Pereira again, and we're going to talk about something that is really interesting because both you and I were very much involved in connecting North America and China. I mean, we're obviously both North Americans, spent a lot of time in China, and I want to talk about a topic, disengagement or engagement with China. Chris, one of the things that we've seen over the last couple of years is, decoupling has been a very hot topic word, talking with China. And I want to know your thoughts about, if we should be engaging or disengaging, because we have a lot of big events coming up. One of the ones that come to mind, for example, is the Beijing Winter Olympics. Yep. Going to be in 2022. And really, moving forward, I think, we're obviously going to see China is going to be a very big influence in our global economy. So I want to get your thoughts, as a businessman that is doing business between North America and China, share with us your thoughts on engaging or disengaging with China.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very important topic. And first of all, I think it's very abstract when we talk about engagement between countries or between nations, between continents. But if we bring it back to like a personal level, me and you, if we have a disagreement and I think, okay, you've got different values from me, I'm cutting you off completely from my life.
Yeah.
If you do that for enough people, you're not going to engage with anyone. You're going to have a worse life overall. If you're only looking for people who are exactly like you, basically you're only going to be talking to yourself in the end.
That's a good point.
So I think the idea of engagement at that level is a bit more clear. That why do we engage? It's because if we don't engage, you're either going to go to war or you're going to be talking to yourself, and you're going to have a worse life. You're going to be worse overall by cutting people off. So I think that would be the first thing I mentioned.
Yeah, I like that.
And in terms of, so we go back to the abstract, the countryside now. What's our term, or what is the standard for disengagement? And what does disengagement mean? It means we don't engage at all, right? We don't talk to this country. We don't do trade with this country. We don't do things that are culturally important or business focused. So if we say, for example, the Olympics, like you mentioned, should we go to the Olympics or should we not? I think we should take a step back and think about what is our principle when we're engaging or not engaging. When we're looking at China, I think many people might say the argument for disengagement would be they're not playing by the rules. Maybe there's some problems with human rights. They're not a reliable trade partner, et cetera, et cetera. So if those are the principles, I think we would probably rack up probably 50 or 60 other countries in that list too for disengagement. And I think on a disengagement level, the Olympics is way down the list of important things to disengage on if we're actually going to disengage. And
right.
I would start with saying if you're pro disengagement with the Olympics, we should stop buying the shirt that you're wearing first.
Right.
You can do it in your personal life before you start going onto Twitter and calling for barring people from going to an Olympics, which can be a very positive thing in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is one of the things that we really need to look forward to is, finding events that can bring the world together. And I really like your idea of, like you're saying, bringing it down to the personal level. Because sometimes when we look at a country like China and America, I mean, they're so big. But we bring that down to a personal level. I think this is actually, when you mentioned that, the first thing that popped into my head was looking back at my home country of America and how, unfortunately, the politics have divided our society so much that we're having an engagement problem. For example, if I'm a Republican and you're a Democrat, people don't want to engage with other Americans. Mm-hmm. And I remember earlier this year, Mitch McConnell, the Senate leader, had said, our primary goal right now is to block anything that Joe Biden and the Democrats are going to do.
That's a clear disengagement in the internal politics of the U.S.
Absolutely. So I think, what we're seeing is, this is a really great representation of how disengagement can hurt, and that it's even present in a country like America, within our political structure. And this is one of the things that I've enjoyed really learning about Canada, for example. We just came through a federal election here in Canada. As an American, been very interesting to learn. Multi-party system here. It's a lot more strategic. For example, Justin Trudeau and the Liberals calling an election because they think they could have a majority government. They didn't. They've kept the minority. But you very much need to work with other parties in Canada, and there needs to be a little bit more engagement, in order to move forward.
And the idea of someone disagreeing with you being evil is very dangerous, I think. So when we have a disagreement these days, especially on social media, it's either you're fighting for the good or you're fighting for the evil, right? And I think it's Mark Twain who said it, that the mark of an educated mind is to be able to entertain an idea without accepting it, right?
Very good.
If you're hearing something you don't like and your immediate reaction is emotional and angry, I think that's the time to take a step back and think, why am I having... It's a chance for you to grow yourself. It's not a chance for you to change the other person. It's to think, okay, why am I having this reaction? It doesn't mean you have to accept what the other person's saying, but I think, again, on the personal level, I really like what you just said about the problems of engagement, whether it's in the U.S. or I think most countries are having similar issues because social media has put us right in at odds with people who disagree with us on a daily basis. So I think it's a great opportunity this next decade or so as we get more interaction on social media, that hey, these people disagree with me, what's my more rational response to someone disagreeing with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the Olympics are really one of those opportunities. It's an event that really transcends everything because, we saw, for example, the Summer Olympics that were held in Tokyo. We saw some really great moments there. For example, I love the gymnastics, and you saw, Team USA really bonding with Team China. And it's a moment where, you can put away these differences. And at the end of the day, these are gymnasts trying to win a gold medal. But it was really beautiful to see, the American gymnasts cheering for the Chinese because I think one of the young ladies there had just a flawless routine, really earned that gold medal. And as a competitor, you're thinking, man, congratulations, you earned that gold medal. We're all, kind of cheering on each other. And I think that's where we need to get down to the reality. And I remember one of the most brilliant things that I heard you say before in our first interview when I asked you, what is one thing you want the world to know about China? And, you had mentioned it's just the fact that, there's, people sitting in a Starbucks, there's people that are working, they want their, parents, they want their children to live a better life. We're a lot more similar than we are different, and we're all kind of striving for the same thing. And for the average Chinese, they're not really too much worried about politics on a daily basis.
And I think if we build some rapport and connection on things we can agree about, like sports is the idea of doing sports is founded upon building these connections, right? Hey, we're all human. Let's compete in this friendly arena where we can build friendships, and then based on that commonality, we can go focus on some of our disagreements.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think when we're talking about the Beijing 22 Olympics, this is going to be a very big moment for the country of China. It is, Beijing will actually make history, becoming the first city in Olympic history to host both a summer and winter Olympics. I think it's going to be very good for the country of China. But again, it'd be a loss of an opportunity if we're not there and being able to engage, with them.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think the idea of engagement is not to say we need to agree with everything that China is doing. It's going there and being present and bringing more Canada to China is a good thing. And more American too.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's really what the Olympic spirit is about. Again, it's really a non-political theater. We don't need to really focus on politics, but if I look back at, this is an interesting year. This is the 50-year anniversary of, when Henry Kissinger made his trip to China. Again, that started with ping pong diplomacy, as we know. The United States and China relationship started via sport, via ping pong. It's a beautiful story of how that happened. But I think if we look at these last 50 years, I think because of engagement, I think that both United States and China, Canada as well. Obviously, Canada established relations a year before before America did. But, I think we can clearly see that the Chinese people have benefited from our engagement.
Yeah.
They've learned a lot of capitalistic things. They've had a lot of influence. But I will also say the opposite's true. I think we have also benefited tremendously from engagement with China, and certainly benefited from this relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And what? One very interesting thing that happens when there is engagement is you clear away the idea of the other. When before you meet someone, they seem a bit mysterious. Especially a country. If you haven't gone to a country before, if I think of a country I haven't been to, I won't name one here, but if I think I've never been to one, it's very mysterious. There's all kinds of misconceptions in my mind.
Right.
It seems far away, right?
Correct.
As soon as you go there once, then it's suddenly in your life. It's in your awareness that, hey, this place is a real place.
Absolutely.
It's almost like meeting someone over email. They're not a real person until you actually see them in person. And I don't know about you, but I answer people who I met in person faster than someone who I haven't met on email before.
No, that's a good point.
And I guess one other point related to sort of humanizing both sides is we're all on this planet going around the sun. We're all going to die in 60 to 80, 100 years.
Yeah.
We're all human. And if we zoom out to historically in 500 years and 1,000 years, do these small disagreements matter? I think we should be working as hard as we can to build a better world and more connection rather than even when we're in an argument. I think being the if you want to say taking the higher road and saying, hey, I'm not going to fight back in that I'm not going to push back in a emotional way. I'm going to push back in a logical and smart way that makes things better.
Chris, you're spot on, and I want to know, what do you think needs to be the biggest catalyst to really encourage more engagement with China and hopefully a resolution of some of our biggest problems that we have between the West and China? I mean, I think I've always said that I believe a lot of differences come down to culture. There is very big culture differences. Do we need a politician to come out and say, almost kind of establish, okay, these things we're going to just agree to disagree on. These things we're going to kind of work on together because we can maybe come together on this. Do we need some like a line drawn in the sand?
It's interesting. I think we should double down on Western culture. And I think we're straying from Western culture by not engaging like this. If you go back to ancient Greece, with Socrates. I'm going to get really nerdy for a minute here.
Okay, nice. Welcome.
So going back to first principles and saying, hey, why do we engage with people? So, and if you don't engage, what's the standard, right? So, is the standard when we engage with China, okay, they're controlled by a communist party, so we don't engage with them? Well, it's okay. Well, Vietnam seems to be in our good books right now, but they're also controlled by a communist party.
Yeah.
So that can't be the principle.
Correct.
Is it because they're a dictatorship? If that's the principle, then I guess we shouldn't be allies with Saudi Arabia either.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So to go back to the roots of Western culture and the first principles, to say what's the standard for building friendships or engagement, I think that's where we don't have to give up our values, and we're actually being true to our culture and our heritage if we do that.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Sorry to get too geeky there, but
no, that was really good. I mean, I think what's really important is a couple and kind of recapping things. One of the things that I really like that you said is, when you don't know something, it's very mysterious to you, and that's what we're dealing with in North America. Is that 99.9% of people have never even been to the country of China. So I mean, unlike us, we've been able to go there. We've lived there. We've learned the language. We've really been studying the culture. So we have a little bit more of the insight. But again, like I've never been to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, so I have no idea about that. So if somebody said something that I have no idea. So and I think that's where we need to try to connect. For example, here we're really blessed to be here in Vancouver. Tremendous, Chinese population here, that really makes the city so great because of the diversity, and that's something that's so great about Canada. And I think why Canada has been such a great country for so long is because we're really embracing this diversity. And again, it goes down to engagement.
Yeah, and it goes both ways too, right? If you think of people in China living there who have never been overseas, and if we stop engaging, that ends their connection to Western civilization also, and their idea of the other, which we need to break down also and get them to engage more.
Absolutely.
Is also not challenged.
Yeah, and I think that's important because we have over 800,000 expats on the ground in China right now, and I know I'm sure you felt the same. When you are an expat in China, you're almost like a mini ambassador, for your country. Because I always had this perspective when I was certainly traveling in the rural parts of China, that I met people that, stopped me and said, wow, you're so tall, you've got blonde hair, blue eyes, I've never met an American before. And I thought to myself, wow, I might be the only American this person ever meets in his life.
Yeah.
So his entire perception of my home country will be based on our interaction. And
it's a big responsibility.
It is. It really is. And I think that's where if I were just to greet him friendly and have a little 1 minute interaction, that could change his entire perspective. He'd be like, well, I did meet that American on the Great Wall of China, and he gave me a high five and took a picture together.
Yeah.
I love America. And again, that's
people are at their base empirical, right? And if they see the news telling them one thing, but then their personal experience tells them another, they're going to follow their personal experience, and in many ways their subjective experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, I think we've come to a good conclusion that engagement is good. I think if we are really interested in sharing our Western values, and we've certainly done a good job of that over the last 50 years. I think China has changed significantly as a result of that. And again, I think moving forward, it's probably best for the world to continue to engage and continue to keep that perspective that we're all here on this earth, and hopefully coming together and trying to make it a better place.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Cyrus.
My pleasure.